Hey, yo, what's good, everybody? Hope everybody's having a pretty good weekend. I decided to go ahead and do everything pre-recorded today, so it's just me hanging out, going over a few tickets that I'm looking at this weekend, and seeing if we can line something up going into this upcoming week, because we've been seeing a lot of volatility. For one, the stock market has actually been trending towards the downside. But if we look at crypto's been popping, it's been booming. MSTR, Coinbase, Bitcoin, all of your big crypto stocks have actually been moving relatively well. So I'm gonna go over a couple of crypto stocks. Of course, I'm gonna go over the indices, SPY, and the Qs, and then we'll talk about Nvidia too, since they do have earnings coming up, and see what we can make sense of. So, first thing first, let's go ahead and jump into SPY. I'm on the Qs right now. Let's go to SPY. All right. So, like I said, we've been seeing some, well, not some, but shit, a lot of weakness um, flowing into the market over the past couple of days, weeks almost. And here we are right now, right? Currently, the overnight market is sitting at 766. Look like we closed around 765. So prices are pretty flat right now. We do have kind of a busy week. Let's see if I can go ahead and pull it up. I had the fear and the greed pulled up. There we go. If we're looking at the fear and greed index right now, we're at a pretty neutral state. All right. So that lets you know nothing's really moving. Nothing's really just highly expected. So that's why we've probably been seeing a lot of low volume movement in the market, kind of a stagnant sideways movement, which, if you've been following me over the past couple of days, I've been saying to expect this. We saw a gap down in SMH, which is the index for semiconductors. And as you all know, if we see a decline in semis, then tech is also going to get hit hard. So that's why we've been seeing kind of a decoupled price action between spot and Qs. But, you know, once the money starts flowing out of certain sectors, it's going to impact everything, especially with Nvidia and MU and all of those big names that really hold weight. So we're sitting at a neutral spot right now as far as the fear and the greed index. And then if I go to Forex Factory, you can see the orange and the red folder events that we have coming up. First thing first, Treasury. Secretary Besant is speaking tomorrow at look like 1 p.m. So definitely be on the lookout. Could be interesting, could uptick some volatility. But for the most part, like I said, Monday we have something, Tuesday we have something, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. All week we're gonna have a little bit of data that could affect the volatility, whether it's gonna be up or it's gonna be down. Me personally, I'm thinking that we keep chopping sideways with a little bit more downside, for the most part, for me. So yeah, it's one of those market cycles that we're in right now. So, we're gonna have to take this day by day. It's not a swing traders market to the upside or to the downside. It's mostly a scalpers, day traders market. We get sharp pumps and then rug pulls every other day. So like I said, as of right now, going into tomorrow, I'm looking at this 766 rejection going into tomorrow for SPY. A lot of buyers are back down here below 764. As you can see, we trickled down and finally saw that pop. Let me move this out the way. But we finally saw that pop Thursday going into Friday, but we reclaimed 764 and we made that move up. Kind of chopped sideways, but nonetheless, it was a upward day. So going into Monday, I'm looking to see how prices react around 766. Since we did um close red. Let me see. Yeah, since we did close red Monday, that means that the bears were in control. So we're gonna need to see a breakout above 768 for them to actually take over. If I'm playing what I'm seeing right now, I'm looking at 766. I want to take these puts anywhere between here, 766 and 767, and see if we can follow that weakness, fill this gap down here, back down to 763. If weakness continues, then we might drop down about 762. Now, if we do pop up above 768, let's go ahead and see where that will take us. All right. So if we pop above 768, we'll look for bulls to maintain prices above 766. All right. If they maintain that, then we're gonna make a move and go ahead and start marching back up towards 769. If you go ahead and take a look over here to the left, you see that's where a bunch of the price action was consolidating within that Tuesday, Wednesday range. All right, so that's where a uptick will put us at, back within this range. Don't look for anything too crazy. See this gap down right here? The market actually traded up there, filled the gap, and then this when we started selling back off. So it is pressured once we get back into this 769, 770 range. All right. All the way up to 774, 775. So like I said, the market's not quite ready to just pop. If anything, we're gonna see a sideways chop. If it starts exhausting or something happens this week that causes it to want to flush down, this is for now about a dip territory. Back up to retest the 769. That's gonna be my major level to watch this week. 769. I'm not looking for anything too high above that. Like I said, I just want to see us retest this, which is kind of the midpoint here between support and then this resistance. That's kind of our midpoint, you feel me? So let's see if we can get back above here, and then we'll, kind of see how the boat rocks from there. But below 764 is where we're going to see majority of the bulls start to accumulate, at least for this week. Okay, so these are my levels: 764, 760, 758. Like I said, this is going to be a lot of accumulation, a lot of buying for right now in these zones. And I just added these zone boxes, so it should make the visuals a bit easier as the green gets more concentrated. We should see a nice accumulation and a pop back up to 764 if we happen to see levels down here. So we haven't broken above the previous day's highs. So we'll go back to what we were looking at, which is a 766 rejection. And we need to take out 768 in order for us to really see bulls take control, step in, and push us back up to 769. If not, watch for the retest of 764. Below that is when bulls could really get stumped and drive prices back down toward the lower 762 range. All right. So that's SPY. Now let's go to Qs. All right. Qs have kind of been a little that way. They've been a lot more volatile than SPY actually, and that's because they are semiconductor heavy. Okay. Kind of the same scenario here. We need to see a pop above 715 in order to squeeze out the bears. If not, if prices drop back below 712.44, then that's when we're gonna see weakness start to kick in back down to 710, which we managed to hold that Thursday and Friday. But if we go back down and retest this would be, let's see, one, two, this would be the third retest of 710. They might just go ahead and give it up if we retest it a third time. And if we drop down, we could be going back toward the lower 707, 705 range. You feel me? So, like I said, same way SPY has, it's going to be a lot of buying around here, a lot of accumulation because, stocks naturally tend to go up. especially when you're dealing with the indexes and stuff of this nature. But I mean, just looking at it, we still have a gap down here that needs to be filled between 707 and 701. We do have Nvidia earnings coming up this week. I believe it's Wednesday. We're going to tap into that a little bit more, but that could play a major catalyst, especially with Nvidia being a bigger holding of the SPY and the Qs. So with these earnings coming up, Nvidia earnings coming up, that's going to play a major catalyst into the price action and the direction of the actual Qs and SPYs. All right. So back into the TA and the prices. We're going to see if overnight we can maintain prices above 712 and breakout will be above 715. This is the next level of the price action that we'll see prices want to push into. We can take out those highs. All right. And we'll push all the way back up towards 718 to 721, which is where it peaked out before we start to see the decline even more. All right. 712 will actually serve as support if we take out the highs, and then we'll build up between 716, 717, and we possibly will get that little uptrend starting to build, back up towards 721. But if we don't see that, like I said, if we continue to see what we're dealing with at the moment right now, and said we're looking at rejection between 712 and 714.86. And prices could roll over and we start to retest 710. More weakness will step in and we'll continue to drift off towards to the downside. So this is something that you really want to pay attention to because technically the trend right now is down. All right. Bigger time frame, I always tell you guys, check the bigger time frame. Bigger frame, we're consolidating between 710 and probably that 728 zone. I'll just look at it from here. But bigger time frames, it's a big chop zone. Day to day, week to week trend, we're seeing it actually trickle to the downside. And this gap down right here is what took a lot of the money out of it. So, like I said, buying short dated calls right now, it wouldn't be your best friend. I wouldn't look for anything too far out the money. Nothing higher than 721 right now. Because if we retest 721, that'll give your contracts a little time for the delta and the theta to kind of, be balanced out in a better way. If you're going for a weekly, I wouldn't do a 0 DTE or anything like that. But, going out to this Friday or possibly next Monday, it'll be the smartest thing because if you start to push up and this goes, in the money or close to it, a 720 call or a 721 call, you actually get to beat some of that theta decay. So let's keep watch for this. Like I said, we are facing rejection levels going into tomorrow until we can break out above 715. And if we lose 712, our next target will be 710 to see if they're going to defend that. If not, then we're going down even lower, possibly to 706. All right. So bearish on SPY with bearish on tech. Qs. Let's go and look at Nvidia real quick. So pretty much same story with Nvidia. Only thing is we actually are filling a gap right here down to 712, 713-ish. All right. We closed out the previous week bearish. And that's what you can see. We got a couple of rejection zones up here. It's gapping up, which is good, but we've been seeing gap ups last week. And then once the bell rings, they instantly start pulling profits and the prices drop and then we chop the rest of the day. So this week, I'm not thinking that it's anything different. I'm actually a little bearish on Nvidia still with the gap up if it holds overnight. But we really will have to see this break out above 719 in order to invalidate this and push it to the upside. So how far would the breakout get us? So if we can break out, that 716 will become a support area. And then we can see prices push up towards 720 to 721. It's already going to be a bit of a pain in the ass once it gets up here. See how much chop that we've had last time we was in the zone, and then we had the gap down on top of it. So this could be a low volume squeeze to the upside if it does get up here, but it's a ton of bearish price action up here. Ton of bearish price action. Furthest that I would go for to the call side out the money would be 220s. And I'm naturally looking for, opportunities to play calls. But if we continue to drop even further, I was trying to play 215 calls last week. We had somewhat of a success with it. It wasn't a good swing trade just because it chopped in these ranges and it held 715 for the most part. But we starting to break lows here below 214. So even though we broke those lows, or we're starting to break those lows, like I said, we got to pop up to 216, which probably could be our rejection area, and fill that gap back down to the downside, and maybe trickle down towards the 211, 210 zone. But I really, really like 217. And then if I'm gonna go out the money with calls, I'll look for 220s. The premiums probably already juiced for 220s. Let's go and look at Friday. Yeah, so those 220 calls right now, they closed at around 440. It looks like they're gonna hold value within here between 475 and 350. Those calls are probably gonna hold value. It looks like we could get a pop to drop it to bring it back up towards the high 700s, actually up to the 800s, because this is where majority of the action started drifting off once these contracts got below $700. Okay, so that would be the furthest that I would go out of the money with these is 220 calls. Bulls typically look to hold these calls up between 350 and 475. And if it goes below 340, then, this will be an easy YOLO. Not telling you to do it, but like I said, you'll really be getting your money's worth if it drops below 340 on these 220 calls and you get a pop. Worst case scenario, if it does drop below 340 or 245, you can go with these, and this is all you'll be risking. If it doesn't go that way or the theta gets baked, you only be risking 245. But if it does go in the right direction and it pops back up to 220, 221, you're gonna make a nice little pop up here towards this $700 range or $500 range, depending on how much they sell off. Like I said, when you're playing earnings, we did Palantir right before earnings, and then we caught the premium pop. It all depends on getting in at the right time. Monday, Tuesday would be a great day to see prices fall if you want to play Nvidia calls, just because these will lose value for a day or two, and you can catch the premium pop if it goes in a direction. But if it doesn't, like I said, you limit your risk. You limit your risk a whole lot. You see, last time it got below 340, it went right back up. So they're showing you that they're lulling the prices down to a decent range right before they stepped in and we probably could see it again. But like I said, I'm not too sure this little structure break that we got, and we just have to see how that plays out. So, um, like I said, Nvidia, just watch to see if we break 219 going into tomorrow. If we don't, and we get chopped up between 216, 217, watch for the rollover to fill the gap down here, and probably go back down to 212 since we kind of broke that structure Friday. Okay. So, like I said, I'm not too excited right now. I don't have anything to be excited for yet other than earnings. And that'll be the actual catalyst move for that. So, um, speaking about catalysts, let's go and look at let's look at Robinhood. So if you've been keeping up, I've been pretty heavily bullish on Robinhood. We had that slight uptrend here, then we got a kind of a little dip sideways movement. Nonetheless, Bitcoin went crazy and Robinhood, it got slept on for a day, and the next thing you know, it gapped up and it popped to finally catch up with MSTR and Coinbase. All right, so I'm still liking Robinhood, but I would like to see a dip. Will we see it? I'm not sure because of the way that crypto is running. Bitcoin's a bit stalled out real quick. It's a bit stalled out here. Right at about 77K. So if it stalls out and moves to the side, or if it dips a bit, which I wouldn't be surprised if it does dip a bit, but the way that this thing's moving, you really don't know, or you're not really sure how it's gonna play out. So with Robinhood, like I said, my next levels or targets going into tomorrow will be 112 to 114 because we did close out Friday green. We're looking for a bounce around 104. This 107.84. This is gonna be a very tricky level. All right, this pop could go up to 114 just because crypto is moving, but 107, where it's at right now, is 108, 107. This is gonna be a magnet for this week, as far as weakness goes. This is gonna be a magnet. I do see it's a possibility for Hood to pop up towards 117, 118. But like I said, this is an opportunity. This is opening the doors for a dramatic rug pull at any given time. Okay? Anytime. Anytime. So, like I said, it has potential to move up towards 117, 118. We just have to be careful. If you're in and you want to look at the best possibilities to get in there, I'll go look at the contracts I'll look at the 115s because I wouldn't go no higher than 115. Okay. Um, but I wouldn't hold long above this 108 level just because it's already a bit overbought and it's running on a catalyst pretty much. So, good areas to enter. Robinhood long is back below $100. If we drop back below $100, you see this gap fill back down towards $95. That'd be beautiful. That'd be beautiful because we saw a nice uptrend of pause before the takeoff. We come back down and see this. This would be a healthy chop zone. Like this would be a healthy chop zone for prices to come back, retest this, and then work its way back up in more of a healthy manner instead of just skyrocketing to the upside, squeezing out bears, forcing people to FOMO and decide whether they want to get in now or get in later or wait, puts. When the price actions are erratic like this, it can cause a bunch of confusion, and that's what it's supposed to. It's designed to make you think about getting into it, and by the time you get into it, it's already too late. The move's been made. So, like I said, if you've been If you've been following, I've been saying buy Robinhood. Um, whether it's the $100 strikes, which those have been my go-to strike prices, $100. And those are extremely in the money right now. We'll look at the 115 calls. And let's just do a weekly. So just looking at a weekly, those calls have a better risk to reward below 155 for the move back up to 220 and then possibly up to the $300 range. So that's about a $200 move up if we keep on with this crypto catalyst. Big move, big move. So these contracts was trickling around what, $20, $25. It took over for that $48, $50 range, and it skyrocketed from there. So if you've been playing Robinhood or Coinbase or MSTR, congratulations on the move. It's been moving magnificently. So just be careful around here. Like I said, if we do see a cool off, 115 calls for this Friday looks best below 155. And if we stretch it out just to see, what we can do for next Friday in case you really love it and you want to swing it for another week, August 4th, well, September the 4th, 115 calls. These look better below 235. And they got potential to push up towards the upper 450, 475, 485. So below 234 give you a nice return. Very nice return. So like I said, big moves on crypto, on the crypto side. It's moving a whole lot better. If you watching some of my last streams, I've been saying the whole year, um, this is a decent move. Crypto never really got the rally that the stock market got at the beginning of the year. While SPY and Q's making all-time highs, Bitcoin was just pretty much trading sideways, not really doing much. As you can see, MSTR has popped amazing. It's been trading below 100 for some time. Big accumulation zones. Big accumulation zones. Now that we're seeing crypto move, boom, we're back above 100, pushing 120s. It's dangerous to buy up here, in my opinion, just because it's already a bit overbought above 112. But when it's running off of a catalyst and the market wants it, nothing can stand in his way, you feel me? We've been seeing that on gold and silver. We saw it on, a couple of stocks like Google and Amazon. When the market wants it, it's gonna do what it wants to do. Ain't is Nobody's gonna stop it because the market already know where it's priced in and where it wants to push it to. All we gotta do is sit back, get in position, hold on, and get ready for the ride. You feel me? So all crypto stocks, I probably won't be touching them right now because they're already too high. We've been looking at them for the past month. So positions were already in play. Due diligence and TA levels were already in place. So now that the moves actually happen, I'm leaving it alone. So, like I said, don't chase it. Right now, psychologically, is looking for people to hop in at these levels. It does want to bump up some more. I mean, look at how extreme this downpour was at one point, from 136 all the way down to $81, almost below $80. All right. And here we are now pushing back up to 120, halfway filling these levels right here. Bam, bam. We're in between this chop zone. 124 is the overall target. Above that, then same way we saw it peak up here, it could peak. If my lines draw, it could peak up here around 135 too. Still a big move, but you just don't want to get crossed up in the IV and the theta and the chop. Is yeah, it ain't gonna be pretty. All right. So we tackle SPY, we tackle Qs, we tackle Nvidia, uh, Robinhood. Let's go ahead and hop on one more. One more. Tesla. All right. So Tesla has been doing pretty good. It's been in a nice uptrend. It got below 300 briefly, and now we're seeing it march up back up towards 370. So we've been talking about this gap fill for probably the past week or two. The post ER gap, and now it's working its way back up nicely. And once this gap fills, this is where you want to be conscious of the price starting to roll over. Okay. If you look at it, we're pretty much getting into all red territory. This is pretty much a low volume move at this point. If prices start rolling over, then we're going to see it come back down. We got a nice little gap right here below 348. This is where you'll want to start making moves as far as a recovery. Because if we drop back below 350, let's say the market sells off, Tesla's going to be one of them ones that's going to hold up fairly well or recover fairly well because it's already in a nice uptrend. Unless we actually gap down and start to trade sideways, then this is probably going to be the ones, it'll drop hard, maybe to 335, 340. But at the same time, it's going to be one of the better recoveries because, it's already in a decent little trend. So, like I said, just be cautious. It's still marching its way up towards the 375 range, 371. Be careful once it gets above here because the gap's been filled. It does have a nice one up here around 389 too, but I wouldn't chase it. If I had to go with calls, I would wait. I would wait. We close green Friday, so you'll look for 356, between 356 and 350 for a bounce level. The thing is, it's still going to be in a swarm of red, so we'll just have to see how the rest of the market plays out. How I typically trade any of the stocks, I like to get in when it's not so close in the red zones and we got a little breathing room to the upside. So I would love to see a nice little pullback back towards the, below 356 to see if we can retest these highs, even if it's for a rejection. If we push up to 370, cool. But like I said, we're closing in the gap. Prices are starting to trickle back down. So we'll just have to be on the watch for that. Okay. So we got a nice little setup. I just wanted to look at some of the more important ones that we got coming up, which was, like I said, Nvidia. Of course, you want to check the indices at all times. SPY Qs, you just want to see how the market's handling as a majority. Then you want to look at what's coming up, Nvidia with the earnings. And then since crypto's moving, you just want to see how some of the stocks for crypto's holding up too. So, like I said, we got a lot of data. Fear and greed is at a neutral zone. So, cash is always a position. I can't stress that enough. Cash is gonna always be a position. You don't have to actively trade the market if the market's showing you that it's in a pivot zone. It's in a no man's land. So don't feel pressured to trade. This is a good one. I just wanted to find something real quick where it has a decent amount of breathing room between rejection and support. Apple. All right, so we closed red on Apple. It got a lot of rejection below 318, but we're already swarming in the green. So we'll probably see some accumulation. Even if we drop, we'll see some accumulation here. And then when it needs to move, or when the market needs to move, it can squeeze its way back up towards 311 at any time, and then break out and make a move towards 318. We've been seeing Apple make these crazy moves over the past couple of days. You feel me? From 303 to 309, and then from 309 to 318. So keep your eyes out on Apple for the breakout above 312. If we break out above that, that'll send us to 315 tomorrow. $28. What I got? 318. 315 should be fairly cheap. So check this out. 315 calls for this week. The money's already out of it. You feel me? Let's go back to the normal. All right, but the money's already out of it. You feel me? The most that we can do is trickle back below $100 before it flies back up, up here. They're so cheap. Let's go out September. So this is even better. So let's take out the daily and just look at a bigger frame. All right, so a lot of the monies for these 315 calls for September 4th have been, fluctuating between 416 and 318. These are where a lot of these contracts are holding value. If we dip below that, 220 or even down to 119, you got 2 weeks for the money to start flowing back into it. All right, so these are the plays that I normally like, working towards, where it's a nice separation between buyers and, the sellers. Apple is a good example. 315 calls 2 weeks out. If it drops below 300, you're getting it on a discount. Easy to swing back up towards 300, 400. And if it spikes up, then $600. Easy risk to reward. That's a $300 move from where it is right now. Me personally, I hope it drops. I hope it shows us a little discounted opportunity. That way we can make a good entry and catch it while some of the money's flowing out. And once the catalyst pops and the money comes back into it, we'll be back in early. Boom. Make it easy for $500 profit. You feel me? So this is going to be an interesting week. I just hope everybody, takes their time, pays attention to what's going on, and doesn't make any hasty decisions. Don't FOMO or anything, because that's what the markets is setting us up for. So, Nvidia's already came down a little bit. SPY is still sitting at that little rejection area, and Qs are there too. So everything's kind of at a neutral spot. So let's just see how these prices hold up overnight. And once the morning comes, and that bell gets ready to ring, we'll adjust from there. But overall, if we got to sit on our hands and chill for a minute, that's an option too. So I hope you guys enjoyed the little watch list that I'm setting up for this week. If you liked the video, of course, hit the like button. If you're new to the family, go ahead and subscribe. Catch me on, whatever platform I be hopping on, after hours. Check out the Patreon, join the Royal Family in the Discord, Twitter, all them good things, bro. I'm posting charts everywhere. So I hope y'all have a good afternoon. I didn't want to hold y'all too long because, you got the levels. It don't take all day to explain it. You just find out what makes sense, and then you go from there. So if you have any stocks that you won't look at the same way on any other platform, you can let me know in the comments. I'll check them out, break them down, let me know what's best to reach out to you, and I can post it there. So y'all have a wonderful night, afternoon, and once we get up, it's time to get to the money and figure out what the market wants to show us. Y'all have a amazing night. Your boy's out.